Welcome to a new episode of the Fluent English Pro podcast. This is David Perez, your host, and on this episode, we are going to talk about accents, international accents in English, which I know some of them are easy to understand and some of them are a bit more challenging. This is the situation because many of us work with co-workers who are from other countries or have clients who are from other countries. We might have a particular need to understand other accents. Or maybe we don't have to work with them. Maybe we just want to travel or we want to interact with people from other countries and we want to be able to understand them better. And there are two particular aspects to accents. The first one is everybody has an accent. Everybody has an accent. It doesn't matter where they are from. Sometimes the accents are more closer to the standard, so they will be kind of easier to understand. Sometimes they are more distant from the standard, but everybody has an accent. And this is not exclusive to non-native speakers. Even native speakers have accents that are difficult to understand to other native speakers. Yeah, let me repeat that. Native speakers sometimes have accents that are difficult or very difficult to understand to other native speakers. That is one aspect of accents. The other aspect of accents is that they are very linked to cultural and linguistic aspects that are very particular to a community or to an individual. For example, people from India, they have different accents in English because India has a great diversity in terms of languages. That person who is speaking English to you and who is from India, they probably speak Hindi, or they probably speak Bengali, or they probably speak any other type of languages or any other languages that influence how they process English. And this is an aspect that culture and other languages influence how we process English. In my case, my native language is Spanish, and that influences how I pronounce and how I process English. Same will happen to a person from Japan, or a person from South Africa, or a person from France, yes? So their native language, everybody's native language is going to have an influence in that. So accents are natural and are an integral part of a person's identity and a person's culture, and everybody's going to have an accent. So I like to insist on this because this goes down to accepting how other people communicate and how other people speak, and expressing respect for how these people communicate and how we communicate ourselves, because we have our own accent. Maybe our own accent is sometimes hard to understand for another person. Yeah. So understanding, appreciating, and respecting those differences is very important. Okay. So going to the point. What is what I want to express here? Do not expect everybody to speak in a standard American English accent or a standard British English accent. You have to be open and you have to be in capacity to understand other accents because they exist and you're going to be faced to them and you're going to be interacting with them. And it's important that you are able to communicate with other accents. Yeah, be open to other accents that are very different from what you're used to, which is usually what we learned on on books and stuff like that. This will help you connect with the whole planet and cultures around the world and view and mindsets around the world. Now, in the particular aspect of business and work, being open to understanding a variety of accents is going to open the doors to clearer communication, meaning is going to be more efficient for you and for your interlocutor to talk, and you're going to have fewer misunderstandings. That's going to be essential. Yeah. The processes, the steps, the actions that you have to take are going to be much easier because communication is easier as well. On the same aspect, being open to listening to other accents, to interacting with other accents is going to open the doors for working with teams from different countries. Yeah, you're going to have international meetings, you're going to have teamwork, you're going to have negotiations, you're going to have projects with different teamworks with different team members. In my particular case, for example, I have to interact with people from Canada, from the United States, but also I have to interact with people from the Philippines, and people from Malaysia, and people from France, and people from other countries, and they all have different accents. What I do sometimes is I have to sit down and adapt my ear to their accent. That's what I do. Even in the case, I have a person, a coworker who lives in Canada, but his accent for me is not easy to understand. I struggle with this person's accent, but still I do the work and try to adapt my ear because I do not expect this person to speak like a perfect standard North American accent just to communicate with me. And this leads to my next point is being able to interact with another person from that person's cultural and linguistic background is going to help you have better understanding and better relationships. Essential, very important. Now, there are accents, of course. I understand that we have to respect everybody and we have to be open to accents, but I also understand that there are accents that are going to be a bit more challenging for us to follow, both native and non-native accents. And this has nothing to do, and I want to insist on this has nothing to do with that accent being correct or non-correct. It is not related to that. As I mentioned before, it has to do with the historical, cultural, and linguistic background the person or the people from that community has, and that's why they have that particular accent. Yeah. A few examples. In British English, we have the RP or received pronunciation, which is what you're going to hear on news shows, for example, like the BBC. They're going to use received pronunciation, but this is not a natural accent. This is a trained accent. Yeah, people have practiced, have taken courses, classes to speak like this. This is not natural. And you also have accents such as the Cockney, which is very closely linked to a particular community. And Cockney doesn't only involve the accent, it also involves expressions, it involves vocabulary, it involves living up in a particular part of the city, it involves belonging to a particular social group. So accent here represents a whole cultural context for that person, okay? And it's a bit tricky to understand. I struggle with understanding Cockney. Sometimes even native speakers struggle with understanding Cockney. It is what it is, but you can expose yourself to these type of variations so you get familiar with them. For American accents, we have some accents from the South, some accents from the Midwest that are going to be a little bit trickier to understand. Usually, like people might think like accents from the North of the United States are maybe more closer to the standard or to the idea we have as a standard. But again, it's important that we are familiar with them. Australian, also, you have particular aspects of pronunciation. You have particular slang. This is another aspect. Accent sometimes comes with different expressions and different vocabulary. So you have particular slang and expressions and a mindset and a cultural background that is proper to it. South African is very particular because you have a lot of languages. You have Afrikaans, and you also have a lot of small, or not small, a lot of community languages that exist there in South Africa that influence how people pronounce and process the English language because they have such a linguistic diversity, a huge linguistic diversity. They have sometimes particular ways to pronounce or say words, or they have a particular accent. And this is okay because this is their cultural context. Yeah. So, what I'm saying here is they are going to be there, and it is your mission and it is your opportunity to expose yourself to these accents, to recognize them, to become a little bit familiar to them, because like it will be impossible if I ask you to be familiar with all of them because there are so many, but at least be familiar with some of them, and that will help you comprehend how language works in other communities, in other locations, in other social groups. Now, in the particular case of business English and work English, there are challenges we might be faced with, and we should be prepared to tackle those and to ask for clarification, or ask for, maybe ask the person to repeat the word or to speak more slowly if needed, because that's what you need to do. Yeah, you cannot shut the communication down, you just ask for clarification. Common theme can be, for example, mishearing numbers or dates or other like very particular or specific pieces of information. Yeah. Similarly, it can be the pronunciation of company names. Yeah. For example, if you have a person from Japan who is speaking about car brands, it is possible that they are going to pronounce Japanese car brands in Japanese, but in English, the pronunciation is different. So you have to be aware of that. You also have professional jargon, which is specialized vocabulary that relates to your area of expertise. Sometimes the same words can have variation in pronunciation depending on the accent. So you have to be open, and you have to be in the disposition to understanding and to maybe asking for clarification if the need arises. And the other aspect, which is more global, is speech. Just a person talking. Maybe if the person has a particular accent, if they speak at a certain speed, if they speak relatively fast, we might struggle at understanding what they are saying. In this case, it is okay, at least for you, it is okay to ask them to repeat, ask them to provide more details on a specific point, or to speak more slowly. That is perfectly fine. Now, what are some strategies for better understanding international accents and accents that belong to particular variations of native English? The most standard way will be to watch international business videos that represent or that have people from different national, cultural, and linguistic backgrounds. This might be easy to find. But also, do not limit yourself to business content. You can look for YouTubers or for podcasts or for movies or television series from those other countries that speak English. Yeah. Or from those particular communities that speak English. So, for example, you can watch a movie or a TV series that is based in Scotland or in Ireland or in South Africa or somewhere in the south of the United States. That's important. Also, when it comes to YouTube, for example, and podcasts, it is very, very common to have interviews where either the host or the guest is from an international background. So you're going to be able to listen to a different accent there. Yeah. This connects to my next point, that is practice active listening. Both if you're listening to a recording or if you're listening to a person that is talking to you, that you're talking with, focus very, very well on what they're saying. Yeah, put all of your attention on what the communication is about. And if necessary, ask for clarification if needed. Yeah. Uh, don't worry so much about how the other person might react, because what you need in this case is to have all the information in order to understand the message. And if you need to ask for clarification in order to understand the message, that's valuable and that's useful and that's important for you. And the other tool, which is kind of a new tool and I think is very useful, is use subtitles or use summaries for online calls. There are artificial intelligence tools that you can integrate within these video calling software pieces, such as Zoom or Google Meet. You can integrate them and you can have subtitles, or you can have the meeting transcription or summary done for you. So, in case you miss information or in case you are not very sure about some parts of the meeting, you can easily go back to the notes and confirm what was said. Just as a reminder, it's scenarios you might be faced with. Yeah, you can maybe misunderstand a request, have a team collaboration situation because accents are different and you don't understand, or maybe you misunderstand an idea. That might happen. Okay, that's normal. Do not be upset at the other person or do not be upset at yourself because this happens. It is a normal part of human communication. It is absolutely normal. Good. So, what I recommend is just interact with other speakers that have other accents or listen to content that represents other accents in a situation that is not related to work yet. Yeah. Use it as a practice scenario. Final thoughts. First and most important, embrace accent diversity. There are zillions of accents out there. They represent a person's linguistic, cultural, societal, economic background. Like in every single aspect of human development, there is accent has to do with it. Yeah, everything is related to accent. And the other is practice. Practice regularly. Listen to podcasts, videos, movies, not only business things. Yes, also everyday situations or everyday conversations or entertainment content that is going to help you understand other accents. And focus on bringing these skills to the business area as well. Like don't only do it for entertainment or with entertainment content. Combine entertainment with business information. All right. So that is everything for this episode. I hope you have a nicer perspective on accents, even for yourself, because maybe we punish ourselves sometimes because we think we don't have a perfect accent, or we think we don't have a beautiful American accent, or a beautiful British accent, or a beautiful so-and-so accent. But we are not supposed to have an American accent, or we are not supposed to have a British accent, because that is not our accent. We have our own accent, yes, which is influenced by our country of origin, or family background, or educational background, or native language, and that is okay, right? That's all for now. If you would like to learn more about English in international contexts, English for work and business, subscribe. Subscribe right now to our podcast and to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much for listening and see you in the next one. Goodbye.